Hey everyone, I'm Rabbi Tzvi Waxman.
And I'm Rabbi Shalom Rodin.
We're here at the Hanging at the Hub podcast, which we created to be a place where it's real talk, people and rabbis, where we discuss all kinds of everyday topics and find the Jewish perspective on it.
Everyone has a story, whether you're famous or not, and we try to bring that out to everyone.
So with all our interviewees, hopefully you can learn something. We can learn something, and should be fun.
All the best.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Hanging at the Hub podcast, where we have real talk, people and rabbis, and have a good time doing and sharing Jewish perspectives on life and everything. So we're here today. We're actually very fortunate. We're here today with Baruch Shawel, and we'll talk more about that as we go. Who Baruch Shawel is and his personal story, which was actually I'm curious to know because I know bits and pieces, and it seems pretty. I mean, it was pretty crazy story, and I'd love to hear from the beginning to the end and really talk about it. So that's something that excites me.
I'm really excited to have Baruch here. Baruch, I knew you growing up. I was closer to your older brothers. You were like the little brother who we used to beat up. So first off, I want to apologize if I wedged you or anything we did.
It made him the man he is today.
Multiple times.
So I guess I say you're welcome. But I guess, the way I see it, we could split up into two parts. There's post-marriage and pre-marriage. Post-marriage, you've even moving back here, you've accomplished a lot, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But I guess we'll start off with the pre-marriage, growing up in Dallas. What was it like growing up as a Jewish boy in the 90s?
Yeah, Dallas is a great city. I really, really like Dallas. It's one of a kind, Southern hospitality. And it was just really great people here. Growing up in the 90s, especially as an Orthodox child, you're one of a kind. When you walk, when you're walking around in the grocery store, Tom Thumb, or wherever you're walking around, if you have a yarmulke, people would just come over to you. It's like Tuesday. It's like, oh, Shabbat Shalom. I'm like, Shabbat Shalom. And it was just a lot of fun, and I'm glad to be back.
You're saying growing up and remembering those, as a Jewish boy, I have a funny something that goes back growing up in Dallas. For some reason, my parents sent me away to New York for the summers. That was just, the camp was the time we, going to the Northeast. And who was in the camp? It was people from New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey. And the first day at camp, people would say to me, so where are you from? So I would say Dallas, Texas. They'd say, Dallas? Do you milk cows? Do you have horses? And they were so excited about it. And to me, I was like, yeah, of course. Because that got me into became friends with them. That was cool. That was different. And was the furthest from the truth. I've never seen a horse, I don't.
Until you went horseback riding, you didn't know how to get on the horse.
Never, exactly. And the irony behind it is that it's more likely you'll find a horse in Queens, New York than Dallas, Texas.
That's true.
People view Dallas as like there's farms. It's really not. It's very city-like, right? It's very. Yeah. You got to go more West Texas, maybe more south. Yeah. But that's something I always find. Growing up, it was so a boy from Dallas was pretty cool.
It's still unique.
Yeah,
absolutely. So, growing up, you were the son of the famed Rabbi David Shawel. Now, in case you guys don't know who he is, Rabbi David Shawel is a big mohel. He's either performed your bris, you didn't know about it. It's your son's bris or your friend's son's bris, but was it 7 degrees of separation? He's definitely done someone's bris that you know. So let me ask you this, Baruch: what was it like growing up in a small Jewish town when your father is a rabbi in town that everybody knows?
Yeah.
Was there pressure there? Was it? I'm sure there was mixed feelings on that. I would like to hear.
Getting a little out of it. No, it was great. Me and my dad had a good relationship, and it was definitely different. Growing up with my dad, for some reason, he would always push us to become a mohel, and I just didn't have it in me. I know my other siblings also tried to get into it, and I've seen thousands of Brism at my kitchen table, wherever.
Just slap that baby down.
Yeah, at the synagogue, at the kitchen table, JCC, wherever have you. I've seen thousands of them, but I never had the desire to get into the business or the mitzvah, as my dad would say, as the reason for him being alive. That is his mission in life.
He's passionate about it.
He's very passionate about it. Not everybody. You see people 30s, 40s, 50s, and you never really figured yourself out, and you never figured out your actual, not only your potential, but your purpose in life. What is your purpose? Why are you here? And for him, it is performing that mitzvah and bringing Jewish boys into the covenant of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov.
Wow.
But now for me, it was very tough. It still is a little tough. I don't want to dwell too much on it.
No, this will be quick. Yeah.
But
we won't tell them. No, we won't tell them we interview.
I mean, growing up in the mid 90s here in Dallas, there's really only a handful of Orthodox rabbis, maybe 5, 10 tops Orthodox rabbis, and your dad being one of them. So if you're going to school and they're teaching you about the Torah, and then you go home and then you go to Chuck E. Cheese, school is one thing, and then you go to Chuck E. Cheese and playtime. I didn't have that growing up. I went to a Jewish school, Akiva Academy, and also I went to a non-Jewish school. So, whenever you got invited to a birthday party and you're in 6th grade and it's mixed dancing, you either have to sneak out or just try to convince your dad to allow you to go. So it always has its challenges.
Pluses and minuses. No, I totally can relate to that. I'm also a son of a rabbi. There's another son of a rabbi. So this might be some good therapy for us.
Yeah.
It does have. Look, I definitely remember walking out of shul, being the last person out of synagogue. It wasn't always so enjoyable. Always locking it up, and it wasn't. But on the other hand, there's definitely pluses.
You want to run out of there? Go play basketball.
Oh, the rabbi's here. We got to be extra careful.
Yeah.
So, but I could personally say, being for my parents, 'cause I know they're watching. I hope they are or listening. They were tremendous role models for me and the rest of my family. And they were visionaries, and that I think imbued inside each and every one of us to go after your dream and don't be afraid. And to whatever you do, whether you're a rabbi, you're not a rabbi. I have siblings that are lay leaders, and they are not in the rabbinate whatsoever, but they're contributing to the community. And it's something we learned from our parents, to have an ambition and to try to accomplish to the best of your ability.
It's interesting that you're saying that also. I was saying, because as everyone's saying, it's like, this is probably the same thing with any public figure, being the son of Jeff Bezos. I don't know if he has any children, or someone famous, or someone even influential in the community, being the son of this philanthropist or this famous doctor. And, and you're not going to be a doctor. You're not going to be this wealthy person, whatever it is. It's living in the shadow of potentially of someone else. And I think a Jewish perspective is understanding that, we stand on the shoulders of the people that came before us, but at the same time we stand, when you stand on someone's shoulders, you're balancing yourself too. You're utilizing them the best of your abilities, but you're creating your own life. And to understand that we have to kind of find our lane and our thing, like you said, our tachlis, our purpose on our own. Sometimes it's more challenging with influential father figures. But at the same time, we utilize what we can to grow from them, but find our own path. But all right, that was therapy. Yeah. Okay, guys, that was good. We'll talk about this later when the cameras are off. We'll get it. We actually have we have some seltzers here, but we also have a cabinet with some harder drinks.
And we have to shout out to our mothers. Obviously,
behind the moms out there,
father,
of course, absolutely. So okay, Baruch, let's let me ask this. So you went to high school here. Then where'd you go after? You went to Israel, or you study abroad?
Well, first I can't leave out my high school, Yavne Academy. Go Bulldogs! Just for the Bulldog fans out here, if anybody's listening from Yavne, Zvi Waxman was a unbelievable basketball player when he first came to Dallas. What year was that when you came to Dallas?
2012 when we started Jet.
Originally.
Oh yeah, that was a long time ago.
You played basketball at the old Akiba on Churchill Way.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
So, this guy was great.
So, don't you have
anybody who thinks Itzy Ribald was better, this guy was best.
No. Itzy's got me.
You have a game with Tamir Goodman, for all those who knew Tamir, the Jewish Jordan.
Yeah, we in Valley Torah High School in 98, 99 year, we played Tamir Goodman, the Jewish Jordan, cover of Sports Illustrated, and the YU tournament.
Of course.
Didn't you dunk on him or something? What happened?
I know, I didn't dunk. I think I may have touched the bottom of the net in front of him. But
Jordan.
But we had
fill in on the ESPN magazine.
Yeah, so he made the front cover. And then actually it was a Jewish basketball game in high school. Who's going to actually show up to a game like that? But there was, because of Tamir Goodman, we played them. There was cameras everywhere. I mean, it was nuts.
That's great.
And it was actually a 90-88. We won in overtime, which is not a high school score, but it was a fun game. But yeah, we won. That's our claim to fame.
This is our segue to make this podcast more of a Sports Illustrated.
Yeah, we become
sports fans.
Yeah, we love sports.
To get Mark Cuban on.
Hanging at the Hub will be right back. But first, here's another edition of Why Do We Do That?
Mezuzah. What's the reason for the mitzvah mezuzah? Why do we hang it up on the side of our doorpost of our house? Well, literally, a mezuzah is a doorpost. However, when we refer to mezuzah, we refer to the small parchment scroll, which has the Hebrew words of the Shema written inside. Mezuzah scrolls are rolled up, and you put it inside a case. Many times you get pretty cases, and you hang it up on the side of your house, designating that this house is a Jewish house, and it reminds everyone who walks in, including ourselves, of our connection to God and to our heritage. Some fun facts about the mezuzah: that every letter has to be written by a scribe, and if there's a scratch, and certainly if one of the letters are missing, it's deemed invalid, and you have to buy a new one. On the other side of the parchment, you have the letters Shin Daled Yud, which is Shaddai, one of God's name, but it's also an acronym for the words Shomer Dallas Yisrael, which means that God is the guardian of the Jewish people. As if to say that this is our spiritual alarm system. God is saying, I will protect you for those that are living in the house. If you can, the best thing is to put a mezuzah on each doorway of your house. So if you have 5 rooms, you should buy 5 mezuzahs, including the outside of your house. So it'd be 5 plus 1. And if you can only do 1, you do outside your house. And finally, there's a tremendous merit for those who adhere to this mitzvah. God says in the Torah that if you follow this mitzvah, you will live a long, rich life for you and your children. And that's why we do the mitzvah of mezuzah.
So after high school, you went to Israel?
I went to Israel, and I spent 2.5 years in Israel, starting in Or Sameach Yeshiva, and I was also in the Mir for about 6 months. In my last year in Israel, I was taking college classes at Turo, and that was the first time I became certified as a EMT with Maggid David Adom in 2010.
Oh, that's cool. We're going to come back to that at the end as well. How you parlayed that into something, a great cause that you're doing out here. But so you got married in 2012, 2013, and so let me ask you this, because this is where we're kind of jump into, and I don't know if Baruch, you got to hear this. Just to hear you talk about the story that you went through. So was this after you had your son or before when you found out? So Baruch's going to kind of talk about, but you had one of your children first or no?
Yeah. Okay. Let's go right
into it. Let's go right into it. Yeah. So you had your son.
It's funny. I've been living here in Dallas for about 2 years, and I haven't really officially, formally said my story. I've said bits and pieces. And just as an introduction, this is my story. Everybody has a story. I'm not going to say my story is the greatest story in the world. I think this podcast is great because we're talking about real people, just real lives. And, we're not in a podcast in Hollywood, California. We're here in Dallas, Texas, and we're just talking real things, real down to earth
Absolutely.
topics. And so this is my story, and everybody has a story, and if it inspires you in some way or other, I'm glad to do it.
Absolutely. So the year was 2013 or 14 when you had your one son who was how old? Yochanan, right?
Well, just to take a step back, so I got married, and literally the first, the next morning when I got married, it was like the first time I had some type of symptoms that were different than my previous life before I got married. I woke up with like this excruciating headache, and you feel you're just paralyzed. You're lying in bed, you're nauseous, you're vomiting, and it's a severe headache that just won't go away. And so I was continuously getting these headaches, and like you said, so I had my first child. The headaches got worse. I was getting them, 3-4 times a week. And I started noticing, and my family also noticed that I was losing movement and function on my right side of my face. It was like I was developing some type of facial paralysis. So I thought maybe, it's Bell's palsy. I'm very stressed, living in New York. And you kind of just go along with it. And then I started, when I would wake up, I'm kind of, this was months at a time, and I'm kind of telling the story a little quickly. But then my next symptom, so I was getting headaches, and I started developing some type of facial paralysis on my right side of my face. So I actually didn't go to a doctor. So I started losing my hearing out of my right side of my ear. I would wake up in the morning, and some guys would actually think that this is a good thing. My wife would be talking to me, and I said, "I can't hear you."
The baby's crying.
Yeah,
well, I don't know what you're talking about.
The baby's crying, and I'm lying on my left side, so my right ear is exposed, and she's talking to me.
Oh my God.
And she's like tapping me. She's like, "You didn't hear me?" I'm like, "No, I didn't hear you." And I was like, "Okay, that's a little weird."
Okay, Baruch, and how old were you when you got? How old were you when this happened? This 20.
This was, I think it was about 24, 25.
2014. But those listeners, those who are listening and not watching, they see you're young guy. So this is you were 23 years old. Okay.
Yeah, this is about 23, 24. So this is about 3-4 years ago. This January, I think, might be my 5th craniversary, as they call it. So, and then I lost my hearing. So I was like, okay, now something's going on. I really need to go check, get this checked out. I actually got it checked out, and actually all the results came back negative. So I kind of just went on living my life like this. And I actually went back a couple months later to another doctor, and he's like, "Did you get an MRI the first time that you went to the doctor?" And I said, "Yeah, I got an MRI." And the doctor said, "I think you should go get another MRI because there's definitely something going on. You're having headaches, you're nausea, vomiting very frequently. You have paralysis on the right side of your face, and you can't hear anything in your right ear. Like, come on, dude. Like, you need to go to the doctor and get this fixed out." I got an MRI, and then the results was going to come a couple of days later. So in the meantime, I flew to Dallas, and in the morning, I got a call from the secretary. This was like at 8:00 in the morning, and I'm like, "Oh, wow, I've never heard the doctor call me that, call me like that, like so eagerly." So I kind of
It's on a Sunday morning.
Yeah,
and
you're with your wife at this time?
We were here in Dallas on vacation, and so I got a phone call. I actually missed the phone call, and I got a voicemail. Secretary says, "This is the doctor's office. Please call us as soon as possible." So I called them, and when you first find out the news, like everybody, whoever is sick, you kind of, I can't speak for everybody else, but there is definitely a different feeling when you get a phone call and somebody says that they found something in your brain, and we don't know exactly what it is. We don't know if it's benign. We don't know if it's malignant. We don't know if it's growing. There's just something, and you need to really take care of it.
What did they see? What did they say? They saw a mass, something?
Yeah. So
I don't know what it's called.
Well, I mean, we didn't. The doctor didn't know exactly what type of tumor it was, but it was a tumor growing inside your brain.
Is that how
They
he said
said-
it? He said,
I mean, from what I recall, it was a mass lesion, some type of form of a tumor. He told me maybe it was a schwannoma or all these different types of tumors, but he didn't know exactly what it was, and he said I needed to get followed up with. And from then on, it's like, okay, what do you do? What do you do? It's like you kind of push it aside, and you're like, oh no, what about work? Like what am I gonna tell my
I mean, when you hear that, were you like, what were your thoughts? Like, was it
it's hard to explain. That a doctor is telling me you've been diagnosed with a brain tumor. It's like, nah, that doesn't happen.
Like you're young,
people on the
you're
news and whatever. And there's it's very hard to explain. You're diagnosed with a brain tumor. You got to take care of it.
What was it?
I'm not so emotional. I'm not such an emotional
Yeah,
guy. Sometimes I am.
But we want to talk about these emotions.
Yeah.
I think it's important for people maybe who are in the situation or know. Well, let me ask you this: what was your wife's reaction when she heard this?
I think we just got married, and I think that built our relationship.
Oh wow.
We kind of we formed like a team. And when you go through that together, you overcome those obstacles and you see the strengths and weaknesses from each other. I've definitely learned a lot of strengths in my wife, and my wife is I think would say the same thing. I would hope to say the same thing about myself.
Well, the challenge you're saying the challenge is either it could go one way, break someone, or it could
to be able to take care of. To be married, to have a job, to take care of a kid, and now she needs to take care of me. Like going to the doctor's office, there's so much to do. There's so much to do when you're diagnosed with a brain tumor. It's not like it's not like getting your wisdom teeth pulled.
Right. So Baruch, so you're in Dallas. You got this call. You realized, okay, so you traveled back to New York.
Yeah, I traveled back to New York, and that's when we sat down. We said we need to take care of this, and that's really where I feel like another chapter in my life opened up, and you see the power of the great Jewish organizations, and also the godless of work that these doctors do. I think especially during COVID, we should give such a respect for all the healthcare workers.
Absolutely, yeah.
So
you met with the doctor.
Yeah, I met with the doctor.
Again,
and you can't just go to a regular physician. You have to go to a neurosurgeon. You have to go to a neurologist.
So what did they tell you? Like, so you made your appointments. How did they what was the next a few months look like?
The doctor originally didn't know exactly what it was. It was the tumor was about the size of a golf ball. And we needed more imaging and different types of MRIs and CAT scans. So I did a bunch of other MRIs, and another great organization called Echo told me about this. Echo is an organization, and as well as RCCS, is that when you're diagnosed with these type of diseases, you don't know where to go, so they direct you where to go. So they were able to find me the top neurosurgeon in the country. We were looking through who could perform this type of surgery, because they needed to open up my skull, and the tumor was located really deep underneath the skull in the base of the skull, right near the seventh and eighth craniofacial nerve. And it was about 3-4 inches deep inside. So you need to have a skull-based neurosurgeon to perform the procedure. And we found out that there was only a handful in the country, like 3 in the country, that were actually willing to perform this type of procedure. Luckily, the doctor that I had was right here in New York. Well, not here in Dallas, not here, but when I was living in New York, it was in New York.
Baruch, at that point, did they know if it was cancerous or not, or they just had to remove it just in case? Like what?
So I had my initial meeting with Dr. Sen. He was the neurosurgeon. He said because of the characteristics of this type of tumor, he did not think that it was malignant. He thought it was benign. But that doesn't mean that it's not life-threatening and it needs to be taken care of. Because at that time I was getting headaches, I had facial paralysis, and I couldn't hear anything in my right ear at any point. So
and it could grow. There was a chance for it could grow.
Yeah, and I found out that it evolves over years. These type of tumors. So if I let it grow, I actually had an appointment with one doctor. He said that if I let it grow, then it would probably the next thing that it would take would be my swallowing. So and I didn't want a G-tube to be fed. So when I heard that the next thing that could go would be my swallowing, and I would need to be fed with a G-tube. It was pedal to the metal and get this thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then one second. So I guess once they had a prognosis, they knew what to do. That you had a plan, right? And
What
you're gonna do.
So he found out that it was benign, and he said that we needed to have surgery. And so we scheduled the surgery. This was about January time. So the surgery itself was about 10 hours long. So you're in there all day, and your family's outside waiting to hear what's going on. And going into brain surgery is just, it's a little different than getting your wisdom teeth pulled.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about that. What were your emotions and feelings before this was about to happen? I got on a real level as a person, but also, as being a Jewish person, like your relationship with God, was it a questioning God? Like, how could this happen to me? Did it bring you closer? Was there a feeling of, I don't know? It's kind of, as being someone who's gone through something like this, that's, potentially a life-threatening, I assume it was a life-threatening surgery also, right? It was a danger. Any surgery is dangerous.
Yeah.
But this particularly.
Anytime you go under the knife, anytime they give you the anesthesia, it is dangerous. But, so, I mean, I'm not going to be, the beginning of the podcast, we were talking about how, like, this is real down to earth talk. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if, for me personally, these things, like, I'm not going to say like, oh yeah, I woke up from surgery and I saw Hashem.
Right. No, we don't keep it real.
I don't know. For me, that just didn't happen. And like, was I expecting it? I don't know. Like, we always hear about these things. Like, I was driving off the cliff, and then I didn't have any gas, and I said, Hashem, please, let me travel for, for the next hour, 3 hours, and you're driving on empty, and it's because of Hashem. So that didn't happen.
Right. At the same time, you said a new you said there was a new chapter, right?
Yeah, I definitely feel that there's a new chapter. Now that doesn't mean that I don't have religion in my life. Absolutely, it's in my life. It's in my life 24/7, 365. But you have to take it, and you say like, okay, I'm diagnosed with a brain tumor. I could always say like, well, why did Hashem do this? And I remember when I was when I just finished surgery, you really have to remember how to like eat. You have to remember how to hold a spoon. You have to remember how to walk. You're not walking. Maybe you'll take your first steps, maybe like the second or third day out of surgery, because you don't have the muscle to do it. You don't have the strength, and you kind of forget about how to walk. So I remember maybe the fifth or sixth day when I was actually doing, I was walking about 3 or 4 steps down the hallway, and I said, I'm just going to use this as motivation. Like, you have to keep going. You have to keep going. People have suffered way worse than me, and you just have to keep going. You have to keep going. And that's why I felt like I had a new chapter in my life. Not saying that everything now is like perfect and
well, we'll get to now, but there's still more we got to unpack over here. Baruch, this is So you woke when you woke up. When you say you remembered, how was your memory in terms of, was your memory 100%? You had certain muscle that you have to, like, how does that work? I don't.
So going into surgery, I thought that because they're dealing with your brain. So like one little small nick, there goes your arm, there goes your leg, there goes your eyesight. You just never know. But you have to have a team of doctors that you obviously trust, and I did, and they did a phenomenal job. You just never know what's going to happen when you wake up, and then when you wake up, it's obviously a big days. The first time they tried to get me up from the bed, I kind of had like a seizing, fainting episode, and that was very worrisome. But you're in the ICU for about 5 days, and you have wires coming out of everywhere. You have wires coming out of your head. You're hooked up to IVs, EKGs, 24/7. And you have to just take it day by day. Nobody else understands what you're feeling like, and you're just lying on the bed. But I have to. My friends, my family were always there. My wife was always there beside my bed. Just to have somebody there to sleep there at night is it makes a world of a difference.
It's really a question I could ask before. Were you ever nervous, like scared you were gonna die? Beforehand and as you're going.
I wasn't scared that I was gonna die. There was definitely some type of nervousness to me, and it was just interesting to say like I'm like 1 in a million. It's like I'm 1 in a million. Not everybody goes through life and has
a great perspective. You're unique. You're like,
this was my thing. Like I wasn't planning on doing this, and like we were talking about like your mission in life, and and I felt like going through that made me a little bit more focused on what is my mission in life. But you're 1 in a million, and it's to be diagnosed with a skull-base hemangioma.
And so your wife, I'm sure for your wife, was balancing and with obviously with being there by your side, but you had a baby at home.
Mm-hmm.
And did your son, it was Yochanan, right?
Yeah.
I know he's in my daughter's class. Or so he did he come to the hospital? Was he too young?
He was too young. He never came to the hospital. Somebody was always watching him, and either my wife would sleep over and somebody would watch him, or my wife would stay home and somebody else was with me.
So the recovery took a while.
Yeah,
so you couldn't swallow. You said you had to learn to swallow.
The recovery. If anybody goes through brain surgery, the recovery really you feel somewhat back to yourself about 3 or 4 months later, and then a full recovery really is about 2 years. So you're in the hospital for about I think it was about a week and a half. I was back home. I came back home, and my wife was literally like spoon feeding me, and she was also like spoon feeding me like all this medication. I think I was probably on about like 36 medications in a 24-hour day. And she would wake me up at 3 o'clock in the morning and say, "Hey, take this medicine, give me the applesauce," and I'd just be lying there. So the recovery, you start learning how to walk again, and you start learning how to eat and swallow. At the time, I still don't really have so much of my taste, but at the time, everything didn't have any taste. You have to just one leg in front of the other.
Wow. So there was a couple questions on this. Was there any lasting or anything from it that you said, so you don't have your taste? That's one thing that.
So periodically now, I still have headaches that are somewhat under control. I don't have any hearing in my right ear, and I have I would say about like 70% of my my muscle movement on my right side of my face, and then also they took, in order to replace the facial nerve that was rotten away from the tumor, they replaced it with a nerve from my ankle. So they put a nerve from my ankle into my head, which was pretty cool.
Oh, wow.
So I don't have any real feeling on my left foot. So whoever's watching this, please, you could step on it as much as you want.
I was about to say, you don't have to go that far for me not to break your ankles on the
Yeah, go ahead.
crossover. You don't have to, you just have to say, I don't want to play. You don't have to. No, Baruch. So
Yeah.
does it affect like exercise and all that kind of stuff? Or
No, thank God. I mean, nowadays, I've been going to the gym like every other day. It's great. I started probably going back to the gym maybe, I don't know, maybe like 8 months after just going on a bike and just moving the legs, and getting back into somewhat shape. I think I lost about like 20 pounds, 25 pounds. Yeah,
it's a crazy, it's amazing. No, it's just something interesting. I don't know if it's too soon, but like I was in a previous podcast, when I hear someone that's gone through a challenge, everyone has challenges and they're in different ways. Some of them seem extreme. I'm looking at you like, wow, that's like to go through something like that. And quite frankly, it could happen to anyone at any given moment. And God chose you, but there's actually an interesting midrashic source, Kabbalistic. They talk about that every neshama, every soul, before they come down into the world, are told this is going to be your challenges and this is going to be the life you're put into and the family, etc. And do you want to come back? And the neshama, the soul, says yes, which means that somehow, because obviously in the world to come and the world in heavens everything's very clear, and we know that this is the best thing for us. We don't necessarily understand it, but it's the best thing for us. But it's hard to see this. So in a certain sense, like you were saying, 1 in a million, yeah, like this was like tailor made for you, and not necessarily. I'm not saying nobody would choose to do it like now, but if you have that perspective, and it sounds like you were kind of having that, like I'm 1 in a million, and what's my job in this world? In a certain sense, something's clicking. Yeah,
absolutely. Just going through that, and now I'm sitting here with you guys,
right.
and talking about that, and showing the good side of it. There's definitely a lot of bad, but there's a lot of good that could come out of it. And
yeah, that's why I like hearing just the story. It's truly inspiring, and the optimism that you have, even as you're going through it, one step at a time. Like, okay, you see it, you got it, and now what do I do? And gotta push forward. There's an idea that something that we learned in our schooling. We used a book that was very common was the Mesilat Yesharim, which is the Path of the Just. Basically, it's a book speaking about character development and goes through some of the fundamentals of Judaism. And in the beginning, it speaks about what's our purpose, like why are we here. And at the end of the first chapter, it was this vivid. I have a line that's very vivid to me, and that is the main purpose in this world is to do the mitzvot, to follow God's commandments, and it says v'lama b'nisayon, and to overcome nisayon, overcome tests, challenges, and that's it. And once you do that, like you, so to speak, fulfill your mission. And even like the pleasures of the world, we're supposed to have pleasure, enjoy, go on vacation, enjoy life, but that's only for that purpose. That we could have like be relaxed, and we could be in the right frame of mind. But the ultimate purpose is to do the mitzvot and to overcome challenges. And my rabbi used to say that you could be a scholar, you could be very learned, but you really fulfill, like you become complete. I remember this: you become complete when you have challenges and you overcome them. So just hearing what you're saying is that, to me, it's like, yeah, I have a challenge, but I'm going to move forward. And that's it's cool.
Yeah,
it's turning
it's real life.
Yeah,
this is real life, guys. We're talking about real people, real life.
Right.
It's like that famous thing. It's the Hebrew language it's the Lashon HaKodesh. It's the mystical, the holy language, the mystical language. So the word lama, why, could also be read lama, for what. Like, a lot of times you say, why is this happening? Why is this challenge? And not everyone has this particular challenge. We all, like Rabbi T was saying, we all have challenges. If we take the lama, why is this happening to lama? For what? Maybe this is a message for me. Maybe I have to change something in my life. I try to become better.
Whatever you feel that is taking away from you being productive in life.
Love that.
And I was mentioning in the beginning how now that we're post-marriage, moving to Dallas with the family. So without too much time being here, settling in, you jump right into community causes. You started this Hatzalah, which is ambulance service. We started Chavirim, which is also, I mean, you'll talk more about it, what exactly that is. But I'm wondering, your story, did that have what to do with, going through this medical
absolutely.
challenge? Did this motivate you? Did this inspire you to want to get more
absolutely.
involved?
It motivates me.
So why don't you talk more about what are you doing with Hatzalah?
What is Hatzalah? What is Chavirim?
What is Hatzalah? What is Chavirim? Well, first of all, that it motivates me every single day. Like, I definitely have bad days, just like everybody does. But there is some type of fire burning in me that's saying, like, I didn't survive that for nothing. Like, you got to do something, and you have to put the pedal to the metal, and you have to just stop saying, like, okay, one day. You have to, like, take action right now. And I learned from my rabbi, there's no more important time in your life than right now. Like, somebody asks, what's the most important time in your life? Maybe I'll say your wedding, but there's really no important time than right now. Like, right this moment, this is the most important time of your life right now.
Not now, when, right?
So
Ethics of the Father.
Pedal to the metal. I moved back here about 2 years ago and had a vision of what I wanted to do here. Things have gone my way and things have not gone my way, and you just have to keep pushing. In regards to Hatzalah, we came down here. I developed a team, a board of directors, and we really hit the ground running really hard. Unfortunately, we had some setbacks.
So what is Hatzalah?
Hatzalah is a worldwide EMS volunteer ambulance company. And if you live in a big city, I'm sure you have a Hatzalah in your community. It could be anywhere around the world. It could be London, it could be Argentina, it could be Mexico, it could be Houston, New York, Chicago. All of those cities have a branch of a Hatzalah. And Hatzalah is an all-volunteer ambulance corporation where if you have a medical need in your community, you call Hatzalah, and rather than calling 911 where a fire truck or ambulance is 5 miles away, a Hatzalah volunteer could be your next door neighbor. He could be the rabbi, he could be the janitor, he could be anybody in the community that is willing and trained and willing to respond with their medical equipment and with their medical knowledge to be able to provide basic life support and advanced life support to anybody in the community. And it's free of charge, and it's all volunteer, and it's a great organization.
And the response time is much faster than an ambulance.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So you're not competing with 911. You're a resource to
911. I mean, every city has their own challenges. Places in New York, for example, they have their own ambulances. The Jewish community, they don't call 911. They call Hatzalah, but places maybe smaller, such as Detroit or Houston, they don't have their own ambulances as of right now. So you'll call Hatzalah's hotline, and your next door neighbor, whoever it is, it's a Hatzalah volunteer, will come to your house and start treating you while the city's ambulance is on the way. And that way they treat the patient a lot quicker and a lot faster. And at the end of the day, it helps the patient with a survival rate of a lot higher than.
And what's Chavirim?
Chavirim is a volunteer organization also found around the country where they're made up of all volunteers. We have about 10 volunteers here in Dallas that we volunteer. We respond to lockouts. If you're locked out of your car, if you go into your car and you feel like you can't start up your car because you have a dead battery, so a volunteer will you call the Chavirim number and it'll come to your location and boost the car for you all for free, and also change your tire if you're ever stuck on the side of the road. Chavirim is just made up of just good people.
Good people want to do good things and help out.
When I was recruiting for members of Chavirim here in Dallas, I just asked, like, do you want to help? Like, if you want to help and you have that mentality, then everything else will come into place. People ask me, like, oh, how much does it cost? How much time does it take? So that's not the right attitude. If you come to me and say, I want to help, I don't care. And, if I have to, come home at 5 o'clock instead of 4:50, 10 minutes late, I just want to help. And that's who we are. And it's really,
and will you get trained to do these different activities, or you have to actually be a handy person?
No, you could be anybody. If you want me to train you, it's very easy.
I'll sign him. You're talking about me. Can you teach me how to change a light bulb? Because if you could do that,
I personally,
my wife, everyone will be very happy.
Ask my other Chavirim volunteers.
No, the reason why I mentioned this, Baruch, is that you have a podcast here that people in Dallas are listening to, and people sometimes they want to help, whether it's charitable giving, whether
Yeah.
it's this, but this is something where it doesn't require a Jewish education in order to help out. People want to help, right?
Yeah.
So you could actually, if they want to contact you, say, hey, you know what? This sounds like a cool thing. I'd love to be able to help out someone, a fellow Jew that's stuck in the middle of somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. If anybody's watching this and that wants to volunteer around the community, we are definitely looking for Hatzalah volunteers, as well as anybody who wants to volunteer in Chaverim.
What is it required to be Hatzalah volunteer? What kind of education?
You would get nationally registered as a EMT, emergency medical technician. We would put you through the schooling. The schooling is about 6 months. And you become certified as a EMT nationally and state certified. And you'll be able to respond to local calls within our neighborhood. Unfortunately, Hatzalah hasn't taken off as much as I would like it to be. We're not at the level that I would like it to be due to issues that we ran into with the city of Dallas, different fire chiefs. So we had a lot of pushback with that. But, we have to pivot. We faced a wall and we have to figure it out.
I'm sure Hatzalahs across the world and country have all hit that wall in the beginning, right?
You definitely hear stories. You just have to keep pushing. Like I said before, the attitude is, I just want to help.
Yeah. And this doesn't matter what affiliation or no affiliation. You want to help your fellow Jew. You want to be able to be there to respond, save a life, and be there in your community. Can you imagine everyone knows, like, I got Steve, or I got this guy over here who's Brett, who's around the corner. If God forbid anything happens, I call, he'll be there.
Yeah,
and you could save a life.
Yeah, there's Hatzalah members all across the world that have saved, and the Hatzalah member is your next door neighbor, and to come over at 3 o'clock in the morning to save your life, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Well, so it says anyone that saves one soul of a Jewish soul is if they save the world. It's a tremendous opportunity and merit. But
it's all volunteer. All volunteer. We don't expect anything in return. The only reason why we're doing it is just because we want to do good, and that's it.
Baruch, it's amazing. You go through these challenges, and like you said, ups and downs. It's not always gonna be easy. It's not like, the relationship with God is not like, oh, now I'm it's a challenge, it's a slog, it's a struggle. But the fact that you're plowing on and you're trying to do these volunteer causes and wanting to make an impact, it's extremely admirable. And
thank you.
I look up to you for that. Thank you guys for tuning in for another episode of Hang with the Hub, and thank you, Baruch, for joining us.
Come check it out. Jet,
Like us, follow us on Instagram at Jet Jewish Education Texas.
Find us on Spotify and Apple.
Subscribe to all those platforms.
We're still struggling with the sharing and the subscribe. We'll get there.
And something YouTube, right? What do you follow?
Yeah, on YouTube. Follow us, share us, like us. You know how to do it.
Come check it out.
Take it out, guys. Take care.
Yeah, all the best.
And now, a Jewish perspective.
Hey everyone, Yom Kippur is just around the corner. And we know we say on Yom Kippur, Avinu Malkeinu, our Father, our King. Our Father? What's the significance of a father? A father will do anything for their child. When a child's born, you'll do anything for them, and it doesn't change. But we believe a basic Jewish concept is our Father in heaven is more merciful even than our actual biological father. And we say, Kol ma da'avid Rachmana l'tav avid, everything God does is for the best. I don't understand what you mean. Why do people get sick? Why do people get tumors? Why do people have children that pass away or people suffering? How could that be good? Everything God does is for the best? This doesn't look like it's for the best. There's a parable that I always, in my mind, go back to that I think is fascinating. I think maybe we could all apply this to our lives. There was this dog that was very close to its owner, and would always follow it around. The owner one day would start clutching his chest. Starts breathing a little heavy. The owner says, you know what, I got to go. I got to call a doctor. The dog's watching very carefully. He goes, he dials 911. The ambulance comes, the EMT comes in, opens the door. The dog is watching what's going on over here. They check him and they realize something's wrong. The dog's looking what's happening. They said, you know what, you need to get rushed to the hospital right now. They put him on the gurney. The dog is right by the gurney. They wheel it into the ambulance. Dog follows, looking with the ear. And you can imagine the ears are perked up. What's happening? They wheel this man into the hospital. All of a sudden, the cardiologist looks at him. The dog's looking at the cardiologist. What's happening? Trying to protect his master. and the doctor says, you're having a tremendous heart attack right now. And if we don't perform life-saving surgery, you're going to die. He said, let's do it. They rush him in. The dog's watching this whole time. The doctor puts on the gloves and picks up the scalpel, the sharp scalpel, ready to perform life-saving surgery on this man. When the dog sees the scalpel, the dog goes crazy. It starts barking. It starts trying to bite the surgeon. They have to remove the dog. I don't understand. Dog, you love your owner. You've been following around for years. This doctor's about to save your beloved owner's life. Why are you so upset? It's because what the dog is seeing through his own lens is a sharp knife and a doctor trying to stab his owner. He's trying to kill him. But in reality, what the dog doesn't realize is that the doctor is actually saving. It's a complete 180. He's actually saving your owner. In a certain sense, we are the animal and God is the doctor. Hashem, God who created the world, created man, created the cosmos and the galaxies, has a level of understanding and wisdom beyond what we, with our own flesh and blood and eyes and ears and our senses, could understand. So what we may think looks bad and seems bad, why could this happen? There is a depth and understanding of God doing for our best that we can never fully grasp. So the answer, why do bad things happen to good people and why is this happening? We don't know. But at the same time, we understand that our knowledge is finite. We can only understand based on what we can understand and see. But God's infinite wisdom goes way beyond that. Take care.
Subscribe to Hanging at the Hub on your favorite podcast platform. Follow us at jet.jewisheducationtexas on Instagram and at Jewish Education Texas on Facebook. Or watch the show at jetexas.org.